You are sitting in a cell covered in worm poop.
Why did I forget that Lucian has a personality? I'm home at the spring quarter. Now you're not well traveled. Remember how I said I wanted a throat puncher? Okay, highburn. What's a highburn?
Howdy, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. We are doing a reread / new book. As you can probably tell from the thumbnail, I'm going to be rereading the entire ACOTAR series. I have not revisited these books in entirety. Like, I've definitely reread, like, you know, my favorite parts. Obviously, I go back to A Court of Mist and Fury like all the time, but I have not gone back and read the entire series in completion since 2020 when I first read them. And I thought now was a really good time for me to do so because I want to read A Court of Silver Flames for the first time. My coworker has been rightfully so badgering me to read this book because she just read it and she said it's amazing. She loves it. And a lot of my friends have already completed this series, and I think I've been holding it off for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm very reluctant to give Nesta a chance, which is so hypocritical because I'm the oldest sister and I feel like I would relate to her a lot, especially as someone who's gone through depression. And I've also been really scared because I just love Feyre and Rhys so much. I am just so reluctant to read a book where he is seen in a poor light because I love him so much. But I know that a lot of people say this book, while it is emotionally turbulent, it is a very, very good read. So I think this is a good time for me not only to reread, but also to annotate. I have a lot of these color notes and so many pens, like my pencil case is overflowing. And we are going to read and annotate all of the ACOTAR books. The first book that we are starting with, of course, is ACOTAR. I think what I want to do is sticky a lot of, like, number one, plot things, and number two, as well, annotate the foreshadowing between Rhys and Feyre. And obviously I didn't know it at the time, but like going back, I feel like I'm just gonna squeal, especially since I have to go through the trenches and suffer through Tamlin again. I don't want to read spicy scenes between Feyre and Tamlin knowing what I know. Fun fact, I actually didn't care about it the first time, and this was actually my least favorite book. I gave this book 3 stars the first time around. So I'm excited to see how I feel about it going around a second time knowing what I know. One thing I will say, and not just for ACOTAR but all of the rereads, I'm not going to be changing my rating at all, just because like I feel like the rating is a true reflection of how I felt in the moment. A lot of things contribute to how I rate a book, including, like, you know, my situational experience in the environment in which I read it, the vibes of the time, how good the book was. I just feel like it's a true reflection of how I felt, and I don't want to go back and erase that. We're gonna go read ACOTAR. I'm so excited! I set up my little annotations. I'm using, like I said, this annotation color note bundle. So I put my annotations inside that I wanted to track. So first, obviously, Rhys and Feyre. Let's just start with that. I'm going to be going through the grueling Tamlin era of her life, and I have to hold on to the crumbs that I can. So we are gonna be obviously annotating. Then I wanted to track powers and magic. I wanted to see just the development of powers, like who has what. I always get really lost in like who has powers in Sarah J Maas's books because there's so many characters and I want to keep track. Then we have foreshadowing because Sarah J Maas, you know, is great at the foreshadow game. And we have plot related things. I just completely forgot the plot. Highburn, what's a highburn? So I need to keep better track of the plot starting from book 1 because really all I was focused on was the romance. Then I also want to track the sisters, especially because I'm gearing up to read A Court of Silver Flames. I definitely want to keep track of Nesta and the minimal scenes that she does have in A Court of Thorns and Roses. Elaine as well. My hope is that book 6 is about Elaine and Az, so I definitely want to keep track of the sisters and their interactions in this book, even if they are terrible and I hate them right now. I'm just gonna be reading a little bit tonight. I will update you when I get to something good and juicy. So I've read the first couple of chapters of ACOTAR. So many annotations already. The massive amounts of foreshadowing that Sarah J Maas put into the first couple of chapters. I know that there was foreshadowing because like she references them, especially in ACOMAF. I just didn't understand the extent, and most of these post-its are foreshadowing. So page 1, Feyre is talking about the lands and she goes, "Fairy lands of Prithian where no mortals would dare go, not unless they had a death wish. A shudder skittered down my spine at the thought and I shoved it away." Who's dying in about 400 pages in those lands? That's crazy. This part just makes me cry. I slung off my outer clothes onto the sagging dresser, frowning at the violets and roses I painted around the knobs of Elaine's drawer, the crackling flames I painted around Nesta's, and the night sky
Whirls of yellow stars standing in for white around mine. The fact that at this moment, when she painted this, Reese was suffering so much and he felt like he was getting a gift from the cauldron by seeing his mate, by seeing his human mate doing something so peaceful as painting while he was suffering an ungodly amount. The last bit of foreshadowing that I saw before I stopped reading. One of the high fae could turn your bones to dust from 100 yards away. Not that my sisters or I had ever seen it. The fact that in 3 books, they are going to go into battle and Reese is going to turn everyone into dust as his first move, and all 3 sisters are there. And if you're wondering why I'm so reticent to read Nesta's novel, here's a quote for you. What do you know, Nesta Breathe? You're just a half-wild beast with the nerve to bark orders. Keep it up, and someday, Feyre, you'll have no one left to remember you or to even care that you existed. This is right after Feyre comes home from the forest with food for all of them. Otherwise, they would have all starved. Her story better have the best redemption arc. Also, I was just thinking about the quote. This is from a Taylor Swift song, Clairbeau. It's hell on earth to be heavenly. Really think that applies to Feyre, because even though she's like starving and poor and she's doing all of this for her family, she's bitter, but like she cares about them so much. They just ridiculed her, especially Nesta. Her father is defending the 2 sisters and she's lost all hope, but she's still taking care of them. And the minute that she hears a threat from the mercenary in the village, she's like, I'm gonna take my family and get out of here if there's even a hint of a threat. Her, not her dad, not her sisters. She's the youngest of them all. She's just such a good person. And I love that throughout the book, she like doesn't lose that. I read 107 pages, so I'm 25% of the way through. I annotated a lot. So much foreshadowing. All of these pink tabs, the dark pink is foreshadowing, and the light pink is plot. She's like trying to adjust to life with Lucien and Tamlin. And she can tell that they do not think of her highly because she's a human. And she says to Lucien, I suppose if I were one of you, I'd be one of the fairies, not high fae, a lesser fairy like Alice, waiting on you hand and foot. He didn't reply, which amounted to a yes. The fact that she became not only a high fae, but the only high lady. You're kidding me. And she actually mentions High Lady. I didn't know that she mentioned it. Prythian was ruled by 7 High Lords. Perhaps this she was whoever governed this territory. If not a High Lord, then a High Lady, if that was even possible. Yes, Feyre, darling, it is very possible. In the beginning of the book, when her dad tells her to leave, he even tells her, don't come back here. He knew that she was so much better than them that he was like, go out there and make a name for yourself. I just love this whole book. They're underestimating the crap out of her. They call her irrelevant. She even thinks of herself, she's like, I'm basically as irrelevant as the paintings that are chipping off the table. I just think it's insane that she ends up being not only immortal and a high fae, but like she saves everyone and she becomes so renowned. Random people on the street know her. Oh my god, I just love this setup, and obviously like all this stuff I missed. I cannot even imagine if I were to do a reread of Throne of Glass, knowing what I know, like damn. The little tiny seeds of Reese and Feyre, and just to think that this whole time Reese is suffering, there are already seeds being planted for them to meet. So she just ran into the bog, which if you guys remember, she had a nightmare of the bog later on. That's how Reese knew that she was in Prythian, because she dreamed of that creature who was only in Prythian. When she faces the bog, she says, I try to look at a tree and think of happy thoughts, and the first thing she thinks of is the night sky, a completely endless night sky with stars. You're kidding. Also, why did I forget that Lucien has a personality? He is so sarcastic, bantery, and witty. Where did that man go? Sorry, Lucien, stand up. Stop being so whipped for Elaine. The most fun that Lucien's had this whole time is picking on Feyre. She finally said, can you not be such a prick? And he was so excited by that. Maybe it's because he's dry on content after 50 years of being with boring Tam Tam over here. But like, I do not see how him and Elaine could be together. I really don't. And the one thing that drove me insane, Tamlin has to be convinced that Feyre is a good person, keeps insulting her, but he doesn't realize it, shaming her for being human. And he is like, you know, you should be honored because I'm a high fae and I'm deigning to serve a human. The minute he lets up on slighting her, Feyre starts to take it as a compliment. And I'm like, girl, no, that's not a compliment. He's just not being mean to you. He's blonde. That's a red flag right off the bat. And I'm having such a fun time. Normally, I don't ever do like a deep dive reread of any fantasy series. I will reread my favorite books, but I will go to the parts that I love. I'm having a lot more fun with this than I thought I would. I forgot how much I love this universe. Breadcrumbs I'm getting of Reese and Feyre just give me life. It just reminds me why this is like one of my favorite series. Tamlin and Feyre are getting closer, and every time she talks about her loins tightening, I feel like I'm cheating on my husband. I literally feel like I'm cheating on my man. We are not interested in just any High Lord, okay? There was one Tamlin quote that I totally forgot about. Even when I was first reading the series, he goes to her, "What would be enough to make you happy?" And Feyre says, "I blush from my neck to the top of my head. I don't know." It was true. I'd never given that sort of thing any thought beyond getting my sister safely married off and having enough food for me and my father and time to learn to paint. I totally didn't realize that in book 3, when Reese is dying and Feyre literally begs Tamlin to save him, he gives that last kernel of power and he says, "Be happy, Feyre." I love that parallel so much. I didn't get that on the first read. That's so good. I'm getting so excited because it's finally Calanmai, or however you say it. My husband's here. I'm happy to see my husband. There was a string tied to my gut that pulled me towards those hills, commanding me to go to hear the fairy drums. I might have done just that had Tamlin not appeared from down the hall. Boo, tomato, tomato. Okay, that is her husband calling her. Talk about invisible string. Alexa, play Invisible String by Taylor Swift. My husband's here. The ground welled up beneath me as I reached for my knives, but sturdy hands grasped me under the shoulders before I could draw them or hit the grass. They were strong hands, warm and broad, not at all like the prodding, bony fingers of the 3 fairies who went utterly still as whoever caught me gently set me upright. "There you are, I've been looking for you," said a deep, sensual male voice I've never heard. "Thank you for finding her for me," my savior said to them, smoothed and polished. "Enjoy the rite." There was enough of a bite beneath his last words. The fairies stiffened. Without further comment, they scuttered back to the bonfires. I stepped out of the shelter of my savior's arms and turned to thank him. Standing before me was the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. I could cry reading that. For her, this is just a first meeting. She's just looking at a beautiful stranger, and to him, this is everything. This, to him, was like a gift from God, basically. The fact that he views her in such high regard already for all he's been through, for the torture he's been through, for his family that he gave up, for his land that he's lost, for his home that he hasn't seen in 50 years. I forgot how much I love him. I've officially read another 100 pages. I'm now 50% of the way through ACOTAR. I miss my husband already. He was there for like a page. And now I have freaking Tamlin saying things like, "I don't want you to live somewhere else. I want you here where I can look after you, where I can come home and know you're here, painting and safe." The High Lady of the Night Court would never. It's giving my boy breaks his favorite toy. In summary, I miss my husband. It is almost 1 in the morning and I don't even care because I'm 80% of the way through with ACOTAR. This last 100 pages that got me up to like 330 something, so much happened. There were so many good Nesta quotes in here. My girl really was a menace in part 1. Like, let me just be real. But then she does stuff like this and I'm just like, oh my god. Feyre's come home to like this new life that Tamlin has granted her family. I'd forgotten how cunning her eyes were, how cold. She'd been made differently from something harder and stronger than bone and blood. She was different from the humans around us as I had become. Love that quote about Nesta. It just shows how resilient she is. Can I just say how badass it is? She actually like fought the glamour. She says, "Your beast little trick didn't work on me. Apparently an iron will is all it takes to keep a glamour from digging in. So I had to watch as father and Aline went from sobbing hysterics into nothing." Nesta's mind was so entirely her own. She had put up such strong walls of steel and iron and ashwood that even a High Lord's magic couldn't pierce them. I know that she hates being a fairy, and I know that she hates it. At least where I left off, she absolutely hates being a high fae. But damn, is she gonna be good at it. There is a better world, Nesta. There is a better world out there waiting for you to find it, and if I ever get the chance, if things are ever better, safer, I will find you again. Don't bother. I don't think I'd be particularly fond of fairies. No limits, I thought. There were no limits to what Nesta might do, what she might make of herself once she found a place to call her own. That's what I'm excited for. Court of Silver Flames. Sorry guys, my camera died. I totally forgot about Jurian. Totally forgot that he was like on the human side of things and that Amarantha enslaved him in her eye ring, finger bone, whatever spell magic. She was
trying to get revenge for her sister, who was a fairy who loved Durian, tortured her and killed her because she was all pro human slavery. Totally forgot about all of that, so it's good to get a refresher. Also, Tamlin's just making me so pissed. He's just sitting there kind of doing nothing. Feyre is obviously in love with him. She's like, oh my god, my poor Tamlin. And I'm like, girl, you were sitting in a cell covered in worm poop, and he only broke out of his silent brooding to ask Amarantha to spare Lucian's life. I don't really want to hear it in defense of Tam Tam. She doesn't really see that he's like kind of giving zero effort. Thankfully though, my husband stepped on the scene and saved her. I love the part where she bites the worm. Everyone's betting against her, and I totally forgot that Rhys was the only one who bet money on her. Rereading it, knowing what Rhys is thinking. She covers herself in worm poop to become invisible to the worm, which Rhys loves. And when she sees him smiling, she flips him off, kills the worm. She takes a bone shard and throws it at Amarantha. Knowing what I know about Rhys, I just love that at that moment she's covered in shit and he's like, that's gonna be my wife. I just finished A Court of Thorns and Roses, fully annotated. This is all that's left of my post-its. Reading that ending again just solidified for me how awful Tamlin is. Rhys was the only one fighting to save her. Amarantha was literally going to snap every bone in Feyre's body. Tamlin was like, please don't do that. What is that gonna do? And Rhys knew that he probably wouldn't be successful. He took the knife anyway and tried to kill her. After it was all said and done, he was like, I didn't want you to die alone, and I didn't want you to fight alone. She attributes a lot of it to the bargain, but like, you know that it's the mating bond. The instincts that had once told me to be quiet around Tam and Lucian utterly failed me when Rhysand was near. Constantly blurts whatever she's thinking, and she just doesn't realize that she's very comfortable with him. And then when they're talking about his court, she's like, I'm home at the spring court. Girl, now you're not well traveled. And she goes, your court fell too. Sadness flickered in those violet eyes. I wouldn't have noticed it had I not felt it deep inside me. My gaze drift to the eye etched in my palm. What manner of tattoo exactly had he given? Seeing the little breadcrumbs leading up to Feyre and Rhys being mated makes me so happy. We are now reading A Court of Mist and Fury. This book, one of my all-time 6-star favorite reads. I'll never get over this book. City of Starlight, Valaris, all of their friends, Feyre and Rhys, like it just had all of the most amazing elements, and I can't wait to annotate it all. This seems to be like a pretty similar color palette, just with like the different greens and things like that. I'm so excited to revisit this. I love this book so much. I am feral. It is my time. This is the reward for dealing with Tamlin. Boring ass Tamlin for 400 pages. Chapter 54, I am coming! Earlier today, I did annotation labels. First and foremost, I have Rhys and Feyre. Then I have plot, I have magic and powers, and then we start getting into the Valaris edition of characters. Can you believe that I didn't know Azriel in book 1? So we have Azriel, we have Cassian, Mor, I have important quotes, then we have Nesta and Elaine at the bottoms. I'm going home. I'm going home. 120 pages into Court of Mist and Fury, and damn, I forgot how hard and painful it was to read the beginning of this book. I think I really only like remember when she's established in Valaris, she's with her family. And I first read this, I was going through a very similar phase to Feyre. Now that I'm like on the other side of that, it's incredibly painful to read. She feels absolutely nothing. Rhys is like pleading with her to just like fight with him. He was like, I don't even care if you throw a shoe at my head again. Anything other than the silence. And she's like, I have nothing to give. She's tired all the time. She's losing weight rapidly. She's reading to like have any sort of escape from her mind. Finally, she's like confronting Tamlin. She knows and admits that the girl who needed to be protected, who had craved stability and comfort, she had died under the mountain. I had died, and there had been no one to protect me from those horrors before my neck snapped, so I had done it myself. And I would not, could not yield that part of me that had awoken and transformed under the mountain. Tamlin had gotten his powers back, had become whole again, become that protector and provider he wished
to be. I forgot also that Tamlin wasn't sleeping as well and was having like really irritable moods, and like this isn't an excuse for like how he's treating her, because he's literally treating her like a prisoner. It also makes me wonder if like he could have just used some therapy. His response to Under the Mountain is what she hates the most about their dynamic right now. He feels like he just needs to like make sure she's safe in a different way than she needs to feel safe. So like she wants to train her powers because she realizes that they're manifesting. He wants her to just stay still, paint, don't talk to anybody. I don't know how Reese is functioning, to be honest. Like he was very blunt with her and he was like, the most unimaginable things happened to me under the mountain. And I just keep telling myself, I am debilitated. I'm letting her win. 50 years he was being tortured by this woman. I think the only reason that he's faring better, A, because he's actually in his home, B, he has a very good support network and family. Tamlin and Feyre don't have that. I'm even amazed that like he's able to even try to help her with her mental health, because he needs to address it too. I've never been so excited. Reese just said that he's gonna take Feyre to Valaris, the city of starlight. That is my home. Like I can go anywhere I want, anywhere, just not home. Wait, I love this city that I've never been to. I am roughly 50% of the way through my reread of ACOMAF. God, it's painful. I love the character development because it's like slow, and I just got to this one really emotional part where the entire inner circle, including Feyre, having a night together out in the town, and they ate at this restaurant, and she told the cook that your food makes me feel awake. Reese has this like funny look on his face, and you know from later on he felt like he was gonna puke on the table because he was just so happy that number one, she was eating, and number two, that she said she felt awake and present in the moment, and she hadn't been for a long time. I understand that she thinks that this man is like corrupt. She thought he was just the ruler of the court of nightmares. He's been treating her so nice. She's still being so mean to him. I get why. Listen, I get it. It's just so hard knowing what I know and knowing what he's thinking, and he can't even be completely honest with her because she still doesn't know that they're mates. I love that she's just slowly healing. He is healing parts of her, not just him, but like the entire inner circle. All of them together are something special. Also, side note, I just cannot believe how people cannot see that Azriel and Elaine are going to be together. Even from the first meeting, she has an iron ring on her finger from her Faye-hating fiance, and she is looking at Azriel, and Azriel and her are the only ones who are like having a conversation at this awkward dinner. He's like validating her when she's like nervous. He's laughing that she's like holding a fork like a weapon. And at the same time, you have Cassian and Nesta also seeing each other, wanting to rip each other's throats out. Maybe that's my delusional hope because I am a shipper of them. I don't care about Azriel and Gwen, or Elaine and Lucien. Want Lucien to be happy, but I don't think it's gonna be with her. Like, today I have nothing going on. I'm just gonna read, and this whole book is just the tortured poets department. My boy breaks his favorite toys, the prophecy, So Long London, her getting over Tamlin, and falling in love with Reese. Forgot about it. So this whole time, Reese has been aggravating Feyre on purpose to try to like get a reaction out of her. And this is the first time that he's in a bad mood and she's on the other end of it, trying to make him feel better for the first time. There was no humor, no mischief. I could warm myself by a fire inside, but he had stayed and fought for me. Even when I had no reaction, even when I'd barely been able to speak or bring myself to care if I lived or died or ate or starved, I couldn't leave him to his own dark thoughts, his own guilt. He'd shoulder them alone long enough. And she was thinking to herself the same thing that he was, because she could feel it down the bond, like saying, come on, wink at me, play with me, just stop looking like that. And I think that's so sweet because this is the first time that she's feeling that for him and wanting him to be okay. Oh my God, I love him. never forgive Feyre for hearing Rhys say, I'm thinking that I look at you and I feel like I'm dying, like I can't breathe. I'm thinking that I want you so badly I can't concentrate half the time I'm around you. And she says to him, I want a distraction. I want fun. After knowing what this man has been through, you think that's a good thing to say to him? Like, I understand that you feel like a traitor and like a piece of trash right now, but like knowing what this man has been through, you think he wants to be told that he's nothing more than fun? I always get so emotional when I think about the drawers Feyre painted without knowing anything. She talks about how she painted flowers for Elaine and flames for Nesta. And she said, I painted the night sky. He stilled, I went on. I painted stars and the moon and clouds and just endless dark sky. I never knew why. I rarely went outside at night. Usually I was so tired from hunting that I just wanted to sleep. But I wonder if some part of me knew what was waiting for me, that I would never be a gentle grower of things or someone who burned like fire, but that I would be quiet and enduring and as faceted as the night, that I would have beauty for those who knew where to look, and if people didn't bother to look but to only fear it, then I didn't particularly care for them anyway. I wonder if even in my despair and hopelessness I was never truly alone. I wonder if I was looking for this place, looking for you all. And Rhys goes, I was looking for you too. That part always gets me. And the fact that I know that he pushed that image into her just to see what would happen if he pushed something down the bond while he was in despair. I just have to read this one part because it's so beautiful. And I would go home at the end of every day exhausted but content, fulfilled, happy. I'd go home every day to the townhouse to my friends, chock full of stories of their own days, and we'd sit around the table and eat together and resand. He would be there. He'd give me the money to open my own shop, and because I wouldn't charge anyone, I'd sell my paintings to pay him back. Because I would pay him back, mate or no. And he'd be here during the summer, flying over the meadow, chasing me across the little streams, and up the sloped grassy mountainside. He would sit with me under the stars, feeding me fat summer berries, and he would be at the table in the townhouse, roaring with laughter, never again cold and cruel and solemn, never again anyone's slave or whore. And at night we'd go upstairs together, and he would whisper stories of his adventure, and I'd whisper about my day, and there it was, a future. The future I saw for myself, bright as the sunrise over the Sidra, a direction and a goal and an invitation to see what else immortality might offer me. It did not seem so listless, so empty anymore, and I would fight until my last breath to attain it, to defend it. And we're at chapter 53, so you know what that means. My time to go to sleep. I am 87% of the way through. I finished chapters 54 and 55. Those are my favorite chapters in any book I've ever read. Culmination of the relationship between Rhys and Feyre was done so well that felt like a slow burn, but it really wasn't. It was like 2 months from when she actually left the spring court to now. And it just felt like such a natural development between the two of them, especially going from book 1 to now. I just love them together. I love their relationship. I love their family. I love their home. Knowing that my high lady is coming. Just finished. Still 5 stars. This is fantastic. I just think that the romance is just so good. When at the end he reveals that he saw her in his high lady, and the last line always hits. So Tamlin unwittingly let the high lady of the night court into the heart of his territory. Of course, I underlined and marked it because that's just such a good quote. So these are all the annotations that I have. You can see right there, lots of annotations. So that is 2 books down. I'm so excited. I'm gonna be reading ACOWAR next because I have no chill about literally anything. We have a pink theme going on here, as you can tell, just to match the cover. Also, do you think SJM made this on purpose? Because the acronyms are literally war, and this whole book is about war. I'd like to think that she did because she's a genius. But anyway, we have Rhys and Feyre at the top. We have the plot. We have magic again, quotes. I have Asriel, Cassian, Nesta, and Elaine. Those are the main players that I want to keep track of in this story. I'm so excited. Look how thick it is. Wait, I can't remember how many pages are in this. Is this 700? Yep. So it's been a little bit, and I am so happy because I got to the part where she's back at home, officially announced herself as the High Lady, which was so iconic. I forgot that she did that to Eris. He was the first person that she told out in the world that she was the High Lady of the Night Court. I totally forgot how awesome the scene is. She's on the ice and she's bound and gagged. Asriel and Cassian are the ones who get her. I thought that was such an interesting choice by Sarah J. Maas because obviously like the most obvious one would be that Rhys would come in because she's like shouting at him through the bond. I kind of love that she had Cassian and Azriel. This was the first interaction with them. Like they know that she's High Lady and they're acting in accordance with her. And I love it. A shadow slammed into the earth before us, cracking the ice toward every horizon. Not a shadow, an Illyrian warrior. 7 red siphons glinted over his scaled black armor as Cassian tucked in his wings and snarled at Eris with 5 centuries worth of rage. Not dead, not hurt, whole. His wings repaired and strong. I loosed a shuddering sob over the burning gag. Cassian's siphons flickered in response as if the sight of me at Eris's hand. Another impact struck the ice behind us. Shadows skittered in its wake. Azriel. I began crying in earnest, some leash I'd kept on myself snapping free as my friends landed, as I saw that Azriel too was alive and was healed. And Cassian says, I suggest you drop my lady. When they're going to kill Eris, because they can, she starts thinking about the repercussions of what that would mean, how maybe they need their alliance for the war, and she says, stop. The one word was a soft, cold command, and Azriel and Cassian obeyed. Azriel flicked the blood off his own blade and stalked toward me. I met the hazel eyes of the Shadow Singer, the cool face that hid such pain and kindness. He had come. Cassian had come. The Illyrians fell into place beside me. Just finished A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Applause for me because wow, 700 pages. Oh my god, I was like, how much warfare are we going to talk about? The groans of the dying around them while they were in the tent. Girl. Though I will say the last like 200 pages went by like that so quick for me because I was like so invested, especially in Feyre's side quests. Battle can drone on and like feel very repetitive because like it's a repetitive motion. Her trying to find the cauldron, going with her sisters, those portions were interesting to me. At first when Rhys and like Azriel and Cassian were battling, they were like in the thick of it. It was so weird that Feyre was like benched in her own novel. Like the first 2 novels, like she was the fighter, she was the FMC, she was the one, the curse breaker. And then in this one, even though it does make realistic sense, she's so new to the world. Even though she's High Lady, like, and she has powers, like she does not have experience fighting. It's still weird because like it's her novel and these are her people. So I thought the side quests for like information, different power plays were like a good save on Sarah J. Maas's part, because having Feyre like watch from a hilltop was so bizarre. Also, like it just really hit me near the end. I cried twice. It takes a lot for me to tear up for books, but like the one part that got me was when her dad came in with the army of ships and 3 of them are named after his daughters, and the one that he chose to ride on into battle was the Nesta, who hated him for not fighting for them, who hated him for their mother dying, for the poverty that they were in. That really made me cry. It was such a good redemption arc for him. The second time I cried is when they all returned home. Like I said, like I'm really attached to Velaris, guys. Like I love the found family trope, and the fact that this found family has such a grounding environment to come home to. When Feyre came home and she was describing the townhouse and she was like, there are still children laughing in the streets, that really hit me. They really gave up so much. They thought they were gonna die. Rhys literally died. Amryn died, and it was all for this. And so the fact that they came home and Velaris was like still a peaceful city for them, it made me so happy. There was so many romantic moments between Feyre and Rhys, especially at the end when he died and she started retelling him their story
story, how she heard him. The Suriel said stay with the High Lord and live for everything to be righted. But the most romantic part of this story goes to Nesta and Cassian. Rereading this book was one big preliminary story for their story, and it made me so excited to read A Court of Silver Flames because they are doing this dance of like pretending not to be so enthralled in each other and not be so aware of each other. The two big moments that I love, number one was when Nesta, because she's death incarnate, I'm assuming, and she realized that Cassian was going to die, she starts screaming bloody murder. She's screaming his name over and over again, and he hears her and he comes out of where he was, and right where he had been, the cauldron had eliminated every single person and he would have died. The second part, oh my god, I love this scene. Literally that trend on TikTok that's like, I'll crawl home to her. Cassian is crawling to her. He's like in so much pain. Tell her to run. Instead of leaving, she stays and chooses to die with him. How? Like what? How do you go from that to then pretending you don't feel anything for him? And he literally said, like, I regret nothing but the fact that we did not spend time together. I will find you in the next world and we will have that time. A moment of silence for that. We're going to continue on with the series. I'm going to start the novella tomorrow. I'm so excited because I love that novella. It's so comforting. They just went through so much, especially Reese. I missed scenes of them just like in Valaris. And novella was like a great ode to the characters, giving them some closure, some happiness. I will start A Court of Frost and Starlight tomorrow. It is the next day, you guys. I am officially started with A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I did set up my little annotation guide. I'm using blue, of course. Feyre and Reese, Nesta and Cassian, Elaine and Az, because I think this book is full of like romantic plot lines. And then I also have a section for quotes and then also for magic and powers. Just a couple of tabs, not nearly as many as I had before. I'm so excited. I just read chapter 1 last night. Very wintry. They're setting up for the winter solstice, so the longest night of the year, also Feyre's birthday. It's just a very cute vibe. And even though it is freaking April here, do you see me wearing a turtleneck? I woke up today and it was snowing, and I swear the universe knew that I was reading this book. Chapter 1, Feyre's looking outside and it's snowing, and she's like, my winter powers want to play. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be in the spring court right now. I don't see this taking any more than like a day or two because I love this novella. I think it's so cute. Court of Frost and Starlight. Oh, this is so cute. I can't believe that I'm done with Feyre and Reese's part of ACOTAR. I already miss my parents. Feyre just told Reese she wants to have a baby and that they want to start trying for that. And she showed him the image that the bone carver appeared to her as their son. I'm so happy for them because they're in such a good spot. Nesta, however, is just making my heart break. She's very depressed. She doesn't want to involve anyone in her life. She's making bad decisions. Also, the little tiny Az Elaine moments have me dying. Does no one else see the similarities between them? Az keeps getting reminded that he's an Illyrian even though he hates it. Like, Elaine is still grappling with the fact that she's Fae. She never wanted to be Fae. She wanted to be human. And the fact that she has this mating bond that like she does not care about. She does not want to talk to Lucian. She's like, it means nothing to me. That means nothing to me. Az is still trying to get over more. And at the end of it, when she gave him the little gift on solstice, he was dying laughing when he like never does that. At the end of the night, when everyone was going to bed, they were still talking and Elaine was like telling him all about the garden she wants to build. And Feyre was like, I don't think he cares about that, but like, I'm glad he's listening to her. They're so soft.
and like cute. And also, like, you can already see like her being another spy master because she's getting so close to Peridwen and Nawala, I think her name is. She's like baking with them every day and like learning from them. And I think she's gonna end up working to be a spy master. I can't believe this is done. So we are about to read A Court of Silver Flames. I've never read this before. I do know some spoilers. It's been like 6 years since this came out. I do know Feyre has a problem with the pregnancy. Her womb, I think, is not compatible with Illyrian life. But I don't really know what the plot is going to be. But I'm honestly like so excited because aside from A Court in Frost of Starlight, when Nesta was absolutely being a pain in the butt to everyone, especially to Cassian, in the end of ACOWAR, their little moments together was so good. And so I am very excited to see her and Cassian build back up their relationship, to see her recover, work on her mental health, go through a whole character journey. Like, I'm ready for her to have a redemption arc. So I wanted to give a quickie little update on A Court of Silver Flames. I am roughly 50% of the way through. I am really taking my time with this book. Not that I don't like the story, although in the beginning I was really scared. In the beginning I was so worried I wasn't gonna like it because my girl, I just wanted to continuously punch her in the mouth for everything that she was saying. She was being so mean, and I know that she's going through something. She has PTSD. Like, even Reese saw it in her mind, like how much she is going through and how much she's triggered by the most normal of things. But I just cannot stand the fact that she is trying to not just push everyone away. I think there's a difference between distance herself or like ghost them, essentially. Instead, she's being vicious. We'll never understand saying mean things to hurt the people that you supposedly care about. Even to Elaine, which was like so surprising to me, she is cutting down everyone in her life. Even though she thinks like so highly of Cassian, she is mean to him. And like, that was really hard for me in the beginning, like 20-30% of the book. Thankfully though, a lot has changed in the recent like 100 pages or so, like 200 pages. She has gotten a lot more motivated because she was working in the library with the priestesses. I think that's my favorite part of this book, is that Reese thought it was a good idea to put her in the library with the priestesses. The priestesses, if you remember, have trauma. I want to say it's specific to like male violence, and they're all down there of their own volition to like heal for their trauma, do some work, and Nesta is allowed in there. And I think that was good for her because number one, she does have like sexual trauma of her own, depression, anxiety, and like PTSD. And I feel like being around those women and doing that work was incredibly helpful, specifically when she met Gwyn. And I like that she now has some friends. So she's friends with Gwyn the priestess, Emery, who's in Illyrian. Emery is so interesting because she is Illyrian. She owns a shop that's really abnormal for a female in the Illyrian society. Her wings were actually cut off by her father. Horrifying and devastating. The three of them are now training with Cassian and Azriel to learn how to fight. And not only is it the three of them, but Nesta got a lot of other priestesses to fight as well. I love those moments because I feel like not only did it motivate Nesta to have like physical activity and to get strong on her own, but I think it also motivated her to reach out to other people and to create a network and a community that was safe for a lot of women. And a common theme in this book, because Amryn said this to Cassian, she was like, keep reaching out your hand. Don't ever stop reaching out your hand, which I think is funny because Amryn and Nesta are not in good terms. They're not talking. They won't say what Nesta said, but there was like a specific incident on a boat. Amryn just cut her off, which was so surprising because they were close in the last book and a half, I think. Cassian kept reaching out his hand, and then Nesta kept reaching out her hand, even though at first the priestesses didn't respond to her offer, and that was really disappointing for her. I also like that sentiment because it also shows that progression is not linear. She would progress and then she would take 2 steps back and then she'd progress again, and like things wouldn't go right, but then she would keep progressing. And like, I also like the motif of like her continuously climbing down the 10,000 steps, her getting further and further, and then sometimes it's not as good and then she stops. I love that there's a lot of healing in this book and it's getting to a really good spot, even though there are some moments where she still is triggered. And so right now her and Cassian are having an intimate relationship, but she is refusing to believe that it's anything serious. And I think it stems to the fact that she has very low self-esteem and doesn't feel like she is
worthy of him. I feel like she's kind of like in this self-fulfilling prophecy of like, well, I'm not good enough, so I'm gonna be terrible. Also, Feyre and Rhys are pregnant. It's so surprising to me that the inner circle has decided not to tell her. I feel like that just doesn't go with anyone's character. Even Nesta agreed to not say anything is so crazy to me. Like, number one, that's leverage. She would kind of use that to prove that Rhys is not a good person because she has beef with him for no effing reason. I like don't understand it. She even admitted, she was like, I know he's a good person. He does good things. I just can't stand him. And Rhys in the first place didn't want to tell his mate. That's something that they always talked about. Like, Feyre was like, don't ever lie to me again. But I can't believe Cassian wasn't like, you have to tell her. Cassian's such a big fan of Feyre. Like, I feel like those are her brothers, Cassian and Azriel, but like Cassian especially is her brother. We're getting to a good spot. I'm just reading incredibly slowly because I feel like, especially with fantasy books where like the stakes are really high, I get really anxious about like what's gonna happen. This book is taking me so much longer than it was to read the other books. Not because I don't like it, it's getting a lot better. I'm just nervous.
I'm around 70% of the way through. The other night, I really reached a turning point in Nesta's story because she did something really bad in her eyes. I was really mad at her at first. She learned that they had voted to keep the secret of her imbuing the swords with her power away from her so that she couldn't hurt anyone. And when she learned that Amren had voted against her, she had a crash out. She climbed down 10,000 steps finally, only to walk into Amren's apartment, get rid of Virion, and absolutely scold Amren. And good for Amren, she absolutely held her ground and was like, you are a danger to yourself. You can screw Cassian as much as you want. You can fight as much as you want. You are not reflecting on yourself. She was absolutely right about that. Nesta was making progress. She wasn't doing those bad behaviors anymore, but that wasn't her own volition. She was forced to do those things. She is making good friendships. She's making good progress, but she's not reflecting on why she had those issues in the first place. And Amren was right about that. In retaliation for that, she told Feyre that they were keeping a secret from her, that the baby was gonna kill her. Amren absolutely exploded. Rhys was like, Cassian, you have to get her out of here or I'm gonna kill her. Feyre was grateful that Nesta told her, which I believe that they should have told her. Like, Feyre has a right to know if her pregnancy is going to hurt her. She has to make decisions based on that. Like, they should never have kept it from her. However, I don't like that Nesta did it out of anger and retaliation just to get back at them for hiding something from her. Because at first, Nesta did not have a problem with that. Nesta did not say anything. She didn't think anything that like, oh, that's not right. And then all of a sudden she used it in the heat of the moment to hurt her sister. The response to that was Cassian took Nesta on a walk through the mountains for days and they were just hiking and hiking and hiking. Nesta really spiraled and was like, I don't deserve anything. I hurt my sister again. She kind of just exploded and Cassian really thought it was going to be violent. My favorite part was that she wasn't yelling or screaming. She cried. Like, she cried for the first time that we've seen her. She teared up a couple of points in like A Court of Wings and Ruin. This was like sobbing. Like, it was everything that she was thinking, everything she dealt with. She talked about her father. She talked about Feyre, Elaine, her mom. And Cassian was there to be like, I could tell you that it gets better. He's like, I could tell you all the things I went through. But he was like, one day it is going to get better. He was like, but you have to make that decision. I cried, guys. Like, I actually cried because remember how I said I wanted to throat punch her? Okay, she is me. I am Nesta, truly. And I absolutely loved all of the motifs that led to this point, like the 10,000 steps, the fighting, cutting the ribbon, allegories for like dealing with PTSD and trauma and grief, depression and anxiety and like all those things. I feel like at the beginning of the book, you were getting a lot of her rage and that was just the surface. And I feel like that was such a good thing to begin the book with because people were like, she's angry, she's taking it out on people. That was her surface level reaction to what was happening. There was a huge buttload of emotional trauma that was buried underneath and it was finally let out. I'm really, really happy with with her progression and like where she's at right now, because I feel like this is a huge turning point for her. And also she's starting to reach for things that make her happy, like not just content, but she is trying to make herself happier. She's hanging out with Gwen and Emery, with Cassian more and more. She's training because she wants to now. She's learning about the Valkyrie techniques, about mind stilling, about breathing. She's also going to sermons with Gwen, so she's listening to music again. That's huge. I think that was a huge thing, that she was reaching for something that really brought her joy throughout her life and she kind of neglected. I am a really good chunk of the way through. I have nothing to do today. It's Memorial Day weekend. I really want to finish this book this weekend. Pause from A Court of Silver Flames. Look at my sister's Lego. Look how many pieces.
There's 9,000 total.
9,000? Wait, how long did it take you to build that front of the ship?
Okay, to be fair, I've been really busy. So like a day and a half.
A day and a half, that's crazy. Yeah. The inside, look at that.
There's 3.
Guys, it's like 1 in the morning. I just finished A Court of Silver Flames. I cried at the end for Nesta, for Gwyn, for Emery, for Cassian, Feyre and Rhys. Oh my god. I did not know how I was gonna rate this book until like the very end. There was like a line at the end where I was like, oh my god. Nesta was talking. She had all 3 parts of the dread trove, and she had the mask, the crown, and the harp. She was like the most powerful being with all 3 of those items, plus she was a death god. And it's like taunting her, and it's like, is this not what you wanted, to feel nothing? She said, I thought that was what I wanted. Nesta surveyed the people around her, her sisters Cassian, who had been willing to plunge dagger into her heart rather than harm her. But no longer. When the female voice didn't press her, Nesta went on, I want to feel everything. I want to embrace it with my whole heart. Even the things that hurt and hunt you. Only curiosity laced the question. Nesta allowed herself a breath to ponder it, stilling her mind once more. We need those things in order to appreciate the good. Some days might be more difficult than others, but I want to experience all of it, live through all of it. That part, 5 stars. I rated it 5 stars for this. From the beginning of this book, like what a turnaround, because I hated her so much. She hated her. So like obviously in her own mind, the reader hates her because she has such bad self-esteem. She's doing all these terrible things. And then to go from that to the end of the book where she is just really accepting herself. Not only that, but sharing herself with other people. She's telling her friends like about what she's done, and she's listening to what's happened to them. And then she is accepting her mating with Cassian, saving Feyre and Rhys and Nyx, and the fact that she gave up every single ounce of her power, but the mother stopped the cauldron from taking it all to save her family. And the fact that Feyre was the one who she said I love you to first, I think is such a good choice. This part also made me want to cry. She said to Feyre, she's like, you loved me when no one else did. She was like, you loved me even when I didn't deserve it, and I love you. And I feel like they had never really spoken about like all the stuff that went on between them, but the fact that she did not feel enticed by the numbness anymore, that was her crux. That at the beginning of the book, she did all these things to feel nothing. She was like, I don't want to feel anger, I don't want to feel pain, I don't want to feel grief, I would rather feel nothing. And the fact that she was no longer tempted by that, such a good turnaround. I thought it was such a good character development moment. It was one of the most satisfying character arcs I've ever read. I loved how her character journey was at the forefront of this because she was really suffering. Cassian and her, like her relationship, it did take a backseat to her mental health. I think that was done in a good way. She was like, we can either have a disgustingly rich mating ceremony or I can give you a stale biscuit. So we have officially finished reading the entire ACOTAR series, at least the books that have been published so far. I had such a good time reading those books. Missed this world so much. I'm gonna miss it so much until the next book. Living inside this world just gives me so much comfort. Not even just like the content specifically, but like Bellaris especially.
There's a whole other SJM series for me to read, which is the Crescent City series, which I have not read. If you would like to see a video about that, let me know. But just thinking about it and knowing that it's an urban fantasy, and not even just that, but it's just not ACOTAR, it's not Valaris, it's not the City of Starlight. It just makes me miss this world all so much. I mean, it means so much to me. This series is just so special. I was so happy to be able to revisit it, to reread all these books, to enjoy it once more, and then also to get a whole new story to me. So I just had such a good time. As far as the ranking of these books, which nobody asked for, but I'm going to rank them. Bottom of the deck, we are going to put A Court of Frost and Starlight. No diss to this novella, because this novella I thought was so stinking cute. I was thinking about it when I was reading A Court of Silver Flames, and I'm like, I would just love to read about like domestic Nesta and Cassian. A whole novella about her new life, about like her finally being at peace with the world. There's so many side characters I would love to hear about, like truly, and it would make me so happy. But a novella just doesn't have the same oomph as a full novel, and so for that, even though I did rate this like 3.75 stars, I'm gonna put this on the bottom. Next on the list, I'm going to put A Court of Thorns and Roses. The first time reading this, I was actually not a huge fan. I really did not appreciate this book for what it was, because I didn't care about Tamlin. I did not buy their relationship, and the minute I saw Rhys, the most beautiful man Feyre has ever seen, I knew where this was going. So I ended up rating this at 3 stars, which isn't like horrible, but it was just meh. The next one I'm going to put ACOWAR next. A Court of Wings and Ruin, I would say, was the most political novel. Like, it definitely had a lot of politics, a lot of war talk. While I did like those moments where Feyre and the Inner Circle got to be incredibly powerful and influential, and I did like the plot. However, it just got too in the weeds for me at some points. It just wasn't as enjoyable because what I'm focused on is the romance, and Feyre and Rhys just had less time together because they were so concerned about political warfare in their kingdom. And while I love that because I love Valaris and I would absolutely want them to fight for it, I definitely think this book wasn't as enjoyable as the other ones. So I'm gonna put this third to the bottom. Second to top book I'm going to choose A Court of Silver Flames. I cannot believe I'm ranking this second best. Truly, I had such little expectations for this book. I mean, I'd heard people say that like it was a great redemption arc, and I did not expect to list this as 5 stars. Truly, I did not think this was going to be a 5-star read. I'm very picky with my books. I don't give 5 stars out very often, and the fact that this was a 5-star was just crazy to me considering where we started. The reason why I feel very strongly about this is because I think it's the same reason that I love the Inner Circle in the first place, is because they feel very personal to me. Like, SJM spends a lot of time characterizing each individual person. Each person has their own flaws, their own strengths, their own backstory. It's all very detailed. And the fact that Nesta had such a great story of growth, even more than a story of romance, even though there was that, her character journey was amazing. And lastly, I don't think this comes as a surprise to literally anyone, but top of the list, we're putting ACOMAF. My favorite book. It has everything that I love. The romance in here just cannot be beat. Like, truly, like every time we got a little snippet of Feyre and Rhys in A Court of Silver Flames, I just got so stinking happy seeing my favorite couple. Like, truly, like their love is something that I have not read in another series. It just can't be replicated. There's something about them that's just like so fascinating and very unique to them. The fact that this was like the culmination of their love story, all of those foreshadowing moments, those invisible strings finally came together in this book for them to realize that they were mates and for them to be together. And on top of that, the world in this book is my favorite. If I could only visit one fictional place in my life, I'm going to Valaris. The universe, the introduction to the Inner Circle, Feyre getting a family, Feyre having her own mental health journey, Rhys helping her through that, her stepping into like her own power and realizing how badly she was mistreated. It was such a good book. This is my ranking of the ACOTAR novels, chomping at the bit for Sarah J. Maas to come out with some more books. If you guys have any recommendations for any more videos, or if you would like to see me try the diets from any of these books, which I did for A Court of Thorns and Roses actually already, let me know and I'd be down to try it. I love you guys. I'm so happy that I was able to finish. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Look at her style from the street. Look at her style from the ghetto.